Lovely people. Welcome back to Transform Today. Oh my gosh, my guest today is the truly remarkable one and only Lynne Franks OBE, one of Britain's most influential entrepreneurs, thought leader and champion of women's empowerment. As founder of one of the UK's most successful PR agencies, Lynne helped launch London Fashion Week and the British Fashion Awards, representing cultural icons including Vivienne Westwood and Catherine Hamnett. She was described by Vogue as the spirit of the times. She famously also inspired the character of Adina Monsoon in Absolutely Fabulous. But Lynne's greatest legacy reaches far beyond fashion and PR. For more than 3 decades, she has been a powerful force for positive change, empowering women through initiatives including What Women Want and the Global Seed Movement. She is the best-selling author of The Seed Handbook, The Feminine Way to Create Business, and was awarded the OBE in recognition for her services to women and enterprise. Today, gosh, we're talking everything, but we're talking about leadership, reinvention, purpose, feminine wisdom, and how success becomes even more meaningful when it's used in the service of something bigger than ourselves. Lynne is quite simply one of those women who doesn't witness change. She creates it, and she is such a powerful force for change in the world. So I can't wait for you to dive in and hear our conversation. So, Lynne, I am so delighted you are here. It's amazing. And when people look at your career, you PR pioneer, London Fashion Week, best-selling author, you've done everything, activist, Buddhist, Seed, What Women Want. And now We Grow. And, but for me, when I was researching, I could see this wonderful golden thread that you seem to have, which is all about everything you do is also about making a difference, isn't it? Or it felt like that. And I just wondered if you would talk to our audience about that driving purpose, because this is, a powerful, empowered woman. You are an empowered woman doing so much stuff still. It's amazing.
It is amazing. I can't believe it myself as I get older. But I have this passion for everything I do. And I think always, even as a young kid, and certainly even when I started my business at the beginning when I was only 21, it was always about having these passions for things that were bigger than me. And that's
Yeah.
grown as my spiritual practice of Buddhism and my understanding of how the world works a little bit more as I've got older. My commitment to be of service has just got
Yeah.
stronger and stronger now. Being now, I hope, in my wise woman phase. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah,
All the things
definitely.
I've learned, things I've got wrong, as well as the things I've got right. It's even more time for me. I'm not going to be launching a huge business or wanting to be a superstar, or I want to commit the rest of my years, however long that is, to service for others. That's it. So, yeah.
Wow. And when you look back on your career, sort of as you say, you started at 21. I think your first client was Catherine Hamnett. Is that
It
right?
was Catherine Hamnett.
Yeah.
She's still going and doing her thing, and we're still very close friends. I mean,
Yeah.
she came up with those wonderful Choose Life t-shirts that originally were called Choose Life
Yeah.
years ago. I took her to a Buddhist exhibition called Choose Life, and that's how she got inspired. And then she did all these fantastic slogans, and it was really behind lots of things I believe, like I Live Aid and when War with Mrs. Thatcher. And I was busy PRing and promoting her
Yeah.
well. And then that's now become Choose Love, and it's enormous and it's helping people everywhere. So Catherine and I have been on this trajectory, sometimes alongside each other, sometimes going off and doing our own thing. But yeah, we're both now of the age.
Yeah. But it is making a difference. Like, when you were representing Lloyd's, that was making a difference, that bringing
Lloyds
young
Bank.
designers.
Well, Lloyds Bank, yeah, that was a long time ago as well.
Yeah.
They wanted to be involved in fashion, so we came up with this idea. I think I came up with it of creating a fashion challenge for school kids who could
Brilliant.
design their sort of visions of what they could go to this was a long, long time ago, 70s
Yeah.
actually. and what they would wear to the disco, what they'd wear to the bank manager, what different environments, and we had it all over the country. So it gave them an opportunity to sort of start thinking about design and fashion and creativity, which was very much part of the 70s and early 80s. And we had
Yeah.
judges like Vivienne Westwood involved, which
Fantastic.
was amazing. And then we would get the best sort of made up, and we'd do a big fashion show and be put on the BBC. I mean, we had it on the BBC for years, all these children, teenagers with their designs. It was, who knows who was sparked by what they did then into going on to great things. Of course, fashion world has changed a lot, but yeah,
Yeah.
there was one of the many exciting things we did. And yeah, so I managed to get fairly kind of staid companies like banks and others, to sort of put their finger in the creative pond and be under our kind of guidance, some really fabulous projects.
It's amazing, and London Fashion Week, I mean, of course, that's changed now, but iconic across the world.
Yes. Well, what was called the British Fashion Awards, which I created, is of course
Yeah.
now huge and is now just called the Fashion Awards and has gone on
Yeah.
to do great things. I'm very blown away by it. Yeah, I mean, I plant the seeds. That's what I do. I'm a seed sower, which is, I suppose, relevant to the fact that a lot of the work I do is under the seed brand of planting seeds and growing gardens. So I tend to move on to other things. I've got my ADHD brain is like, okay, well, we've done that. We've done fashion.
Yeah.
What's really important to people, and move on to that. And yeah, I mean, that was all the 70s and 80s, very different world, early 90s. And that's when
Yeah.
I came out in the early 90s, sold my business, and got involved in my own journey of change and transformation,
Yeah.
traveling the world and getting involved very much with what was happening for women or what wasn't happening for women. So 30 odd years ago, I put on What Women Want, which you mentioned,
Yes.
which was about the same time as a big conference that the UN did in China. It was the
Mm.
biggest women's conference before or since, and no one seemed to know about it in the UK. So
Yeah.
I just sold the PR business. So I got carried away again with one of my ideas to take over the South Bank, which I managed to persuade them to give me for a weekend, the Festival Hall in London.
Yeah.
And I persuaded Sinead O'Connor to
Amazing.
part of the concert, who have and had such huge love and admiration for, and persuaded her to be part of this concert we did with Chrissy Hind and Jermaine Greer and Sarah Jane Morris and other wonderful women performers at the same time. And the 2 or 3 days around that, using all the facilities at the South Bank for workshops, discussions, everything from how to use the internet, which was, women didn't know then. It was
Yeah.
very male domain, about talking about sexuality, talking about natural health. We had huge support from Anita Roddick, the late great Anita Roddick.
Yeah.
We talked about women in art, women and as consumers, women refugees. I mean, the whole of the South Bank was just full of little corners of women talking about very, very relevant things for them, which had never really been discussed before. It was the first big women's gathering that had happened in the UK since the suffragettes, really. So
Wow. It's
it, a
incredible.
lot of
And
things
what do you
happened there.
think? What do you think women want now,
Well,
even that thread?
I relaunched, if you like, or celebrated it the 30 odd years last year at the House of Commons, and I had some of the original speakers as well as people from the business world and other areas that women are now doing so well in. And we asked that question again, what do women want? And it hasn't changed. I think what women want mostly is to be safe. I think
Yeah.
that whether it's physically safe, whether it's being able to speak and be heard and not have to be like parodies of men, as we often see, whether it's the business world or politics or others, where
Yeah.
we get that kind of assertiveness, but actually be safe in being true to themselves, being safe physically. I mean, there's not a day that goes past that we don't hear about more abuse and sexual violence to women and
Sure.
girls. So we need to be physically safe and we need to kind of be connected together. So the work I'm doing, which we can talk about in a minute, is very much
Mm.
coming together in small pods in communities and looking after each other. That
Yeah.
anyway, that's it's what women want to be safe. They don't want to be, maybe some do, particularly when they're younger, but the majority, I would say, don't want to be CEOs of Fortune 500 companies or prime ministers. There's always some that do, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But the majority want to keep their families well. They want to have food in their cupboards. They want to have a roof over their head. They want their children to have an education, and
Mm.
be healthy. If there's a lot of mental illness out there, whether it's for women, whether it's children, whether it's men, we need to look at all that. There's so many areas of concern right now in the world. And that's
Absolutely.
even mentioning climate change or anything else. I mean, there's so many things that we need to look at. And there's a different way of doing things, I believe, when we have to.
Absolutely. Doesn't the Dalai Lama say it's women who will change the world? Not necessarily because it's about women, but it's about that culture, that
To try
family.
it.
It's about the empowerment and the organic, because we've been in this male-dominated output world, and actually to have the organic way to nurture and grow and be
Absolutely.
able to be a creative version of you, not an idea of someone else's version of how that job role looks.
So the Dalai Lama said women of the West, in fact, which is really
Yeah,
interesting. And that was quite a few years ago,
yeah,
and 2000, that we were quoting that. And then, um, yeah, I mean, there is a different way of doing things. And I know both of us are very close with the Brahma Kumaris, and they
yeah.
are a fantastic example of women
Amazing.
leadership. I mean, they're in 128 or more countries. They are women led. It was started by a man, as you know, some 70, 80 years ago in India. And he said there will be a time when women need to take leadership roles, but it needs to be coming from a different space. So that's what happened. And I've been very close to the Brahma Kumaris for many years. And Daddy Janki, they're incredible. They always have funny names like head of administration, but
Yeah,
basically their global leader who passed away at 103, 104 a few years ago, used to always talk about incognito leadership. And what she meant was about leadership from the bottom up. So it's not
yeah,
ego led, or it's not about the patriarchal ways of more and more and money and greed.
mm,
It's about a very gentle way of holding up others and holding up, as the indigenous grandmothers always talk about, the 13 grandmothers. I don't know if you've come across them. They're a group of
no,
extraordinary wise women from around the world, and they always talk about. Well, some of them are passed now, but there is a fantastic group or number of groups of wise women from
mm,
indigenous backgrounds and all sorts of local areas who talk about the 7 generations to come. I have 7 grandchildren, in fact.
yeah,
It's about the 7 generations to come. We want to make sure that they can live in a world which is healthy and wholesome and abundant in every way, which right now is just appalling what's going on everywhere.
yeah. Oh God, look at our leaders. It's like, gosh, we want that to change. And yet, we can only change from within, being authentic to ourselves, keeping our side of the street clean, and just, going for love. When I look at some of your articles, y- the devotion and the cause and the passion and the reinvention of everything you seem to have done, as well as making a difference, it does have that thread of love. There's a curve beneath it that is saying, we're not just going to do this, we're going to do it with love, and we're going to make a difference. So it seems very grassroots to me, even the way you got your retreat center, you bring people together through community and you make it happen. And you be the change in the world, as, Gandhi would say. And that's quite amazing, Lynn. It's so inspiring.
Thank you. I mean, it is about bringing people together. My whole vision is for small pods, as I call them, small groups, small circles of women coming together in community and making a difference. I mean, I've been quoting recently. I didn't make it up, but I heard at a conference I went to with the Brahma Kumaris, which is
Yeah.
we've lost faith in the system, but we're gaining faith in the circle. So
Oh, nice.
beautiful, and that's exactly what that's about. Is like there's the feminine way of having women coming together and creating change, whether it means leading an initiative in our town or our city where we're growing vegetables, which is my big thing right now, that
Yeah.
we really are gonna run out of food, not run out of food completely,
Yeah.
but healthy food, and we need to get back into growing. In my case, I've never grown food. I've always let other people do it. So now I'm putting my hands in the soil and I've got physical seeds everywhere. And I think we all need to start putting our hands in the soil, women, men, and children. But that's on a practical side of things, but it's also a
Mm.
healing thing. If we connect with the soil,
Well, you're connecting with the earth. When
yes,
I had an allotment for a long time, and you just connect with the nature of you, the nature of growth, the miracle of life as
it
well. And you start
slows you down, doesn't it? Because you're seeing this
yeah.
slowly growing into beautiful abundancy.
And it is that sort of best things in life that are free. You know, it's the feeling, it's the values, it's what comes with it, and the accomplishment. They're simple things. They're not all dancing, but they're very all dancing inside. You know, they warm you, don't they?
Well, I
And
think
it,
it's a really big healing area for the young people. We're hearing about all these young people with mental health, and so many of them have
yeah,
dropped out of the system that we've been hearing about. Well, I've been working with a lot of those young people over the years, right down here in Somerset. But yeah, they've dropped out of the system because they don't believe in it. So if there were opportunities, and there are some, I have to say, but if there were more where young people can be shown how to grow food and how to put their hands in the soil, I
yeah,
think obviously it's very healing. And you were talking about the grassroots, so everything for me is the grassroots. It's not
yeah,
up there, as Daddy Jackie would say, but it's
yeah,
down here. So it is people working in community from the grassroots, women working from the grassroots. I'm doing a conference in August in Oxford, little conference about the future, and I'm saying there that it's the future now, and it's regenerating communities from the grassroots. That's what we're doing. Not we're regenerating the land. We need to regenerate the land, which is so damaged, but we also need to regenerate ourselves and our communities from the grassroots. We need to do. We can't give the power we have away to some kind of government or district council or mayors. Let them get on with doing what they're doing. Another great quote that I love from Buckminster Fuller, who was a great visionary, I'm sure you've
mm,
heard of, in the 30s and 40s and 50s in the States. And he always said, if you want to change the existing reality, you don't fight it, you create something better that people will naturally gravitate to. So that's my big vision, is that we
yeah,
create something which is made up of women, men, young people who see life in a very different way, based on love, as you said earlier.
yeah.
And
And
not there out of greed or ownership or, from capitalist greed in every way.
so
Don't
your seed pods really speak to that, don't they? What you're doing in the community with those. It'd be great if you could share with our audience about that and how even they can become involved in one of the pods.
course, of course. So I've been piloting really. I've been having women's groups and talking about women's groups for years, but
Yeah,
I've been piloting the seed pods, I think probably about 6, 7 months now. There's about 9 of them in different places across the country.
yeah.
We're ready to have more, where we have what I'm calling a pollinator who will bring together local friends,
Love
somewhere
it.
5, 6, 7, 8 women that commit to meeting maybe fortnightly or monthly, perhaps in each other's homes, best or a cafe or whatever, and best to be somewhere where they feel very safe and protected, and
Yeah,
just share their stories and create the relationship together where they can really nurture each other and support each other's personal growth. So that's about the me, and then the we is then it's the pod itself. Once they feel that they're, because they wouldn't have all known each other from the beginning, friends and friends of friends. Once they feel that they've got that support and that community, what could they then do together to do something, any initiative? And it could be growing vegetables in a public space or
yeah,
local school. I've got one pod who are mostly educators in local schools, and they are growing food in the school, one of the schools now. It could be, there's another pod that's in Glastonbury, which are all healers. So they come together regularly and they share their knowledge of herbs and their work and how they can work together
yeah,
in some way. So they're all quite different. There's a group in Brighton starting where they are doing something they calling soup Sundays, I think, where they bring in a lot of vegetables that they grow ideally, or they gather organic vegetables and together they make wonderful soup, and they invite neighbors who are perhaps living on their own, isolated, people they've met that they think will benefit, and they bring them together in their houses as a community to have the Sunday soup and share their stories. So
oh, that's lovely.
yeah,
I
there's
used
some
to
really
do a soup and soul actually for an interfaith community. So, you know, we'd get the soup all made and then we'd do meditation and, you know, it was really
there's a lot of
lovely.
work that goes on with faith communities, of course, but there's also a lot that has left, if you like. So, and also the pods are encouraging for women of all cultures, backgrounds, religions, ages. It's let ideally in the one pod there could be the grandmothers and there could be the young teenage women who want to know more and are reaching out. Or my granddaughters, my two oldest, are 22 and 19, and I have wonderful friendships with them. I learn from them,
Yeah.
they learn from me. So there's a lot we can do together. So that's the pod. So if anybody is interested in either joining one of the existing ones or starting one. We are literally about to put it out there, and I'm going to have a live
Brilliant.
soon myself. But if anyone wants to just write to me at seedteam@seednetwork.com, or you can put it somewhere.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
I'll put it in Substack as well. If you'd like to join me and be part of the Zoom, or just start a pod, find out where they are, just write to me and we'll be back in touch with you. You, or
Brilliant.
whoever's interested. And in other countries as well. We're talking about having one in Canada, there's one in America, maybe in the US, so we'll see.
Well, whatever you do tends to go global, doesn't it? It's international. You have
Yeah, we live in a
a broad scope, don't you? And with the internet, for the influences, the things that can happen, because of course you were a great influencer before we had all of these influencers, weren't you? Sort of Instagrams and things. And when we think about what women want and how it's changing, a lot of the things which I found interesting popped up that you also said is women want confidence to be heard, to be seen, to be able to be women. And I was just like that, that's so wise, really, in terms of the simplicity of it, because it's literally about a core way of living, a core being that, as you say, it's safe. But I notice you use the word confidence a lot. So I just wondered if you'd speak to that and how maybe you would invite the women who are listening in our audience to be able to nurture that confidence.
Well, confidence or lack of confidence is something that's very clearly widespread in every
Yeah,
country I ever have worked in. And that's because we come from 2000 plus years of a patriarchal age, where in some countries like Afghanistan, it's gone backwards in the most horrifying way. But even in our
gosh.
own country, we still have far less women in the sort of so-called old power structure, in the old
Yeah,
system, than we have men. And women don't feel they have power. They feel very disempowered. And I guess the last 30 years, my prime work has been about the empowerment of women. And I believe we can do that in small groups. Sometimes we do need to be with others and talking about our fears and sharing what's going on for us personally, to be able to hear other stories and learn from each other, learn from each other's vulnerability. And I
yeah,
think the other thing is that with the way that we are today and with women's confidence, that we've got to move into knowing our true power. We absolutely have
yeah,
that voice now. And so for me, it's always been about doing that together, being heard, being seen. And I think what's also, I'm not sure if it's good or bad, has happened in the last, say, 10 years or even 5, is that the menopause has become this enormous subject where it's being seen by some as an illness, even. I mean,
yeah,
menopause is not new. And we can look after ourselves. Some people might need to take some kind of drugs. Other people, like me, I just at the time watched what I ate, watched what I,
sure.
drank, and just the way I looked after myself. And it wasn't a big deal. But I think women are now getting a bit fearful about the whole menopause thing. But again, I'm glad to see I was at a festival called Big Retreat the other week, and that was full of women of sort of, I guess, 45 to 55, 60. And by sharing their fears and having fun and dancing and having sound baths and massage, whatever
Yeah,
they're doing, speaking, they got in touch with who they really are. And actually, I think that postmenopause is one of the most powerful times of our lives. Speaking as a woman of 78 who's been
yeah,
postmenopausal now for over 20 years, it's like that's when our hormones do settle and we can really move into our powerful, wise woman. I work with 7 archetypes. I don't know if you were going to ask me that.
yeah. I was, but yeah,
I
that's
power of
great.
7. So I kind of channel those, and every woman has them inside, whatever age we are. But it's like they kind of relate to the chakras.
Yeah,
So they start at the base chakra with the seed sower, the creative, the ideas aspect of yourself. The next one is the alchemist, which is at our solar plexus, which is the producer that takes the ideas, the visions, the creativity,
yeah,
and makes them real, the transformer. Then the next one is the medicine woman, which is the shaman, the carer. Care always has to start with self, caring for yourself,
absolutely.
caring for others, caring for your community, the medicine woman. Then storyteller, which is about being in charge of our own narrative and seeing things that have happened to us that are not always the tragedy they seemed at the time, but they are actually ways of transforming our lives. And next one is sky dancer, which is about relationships
Yeah,
itself again, also relationships in community, networking, generally the relationship, the love relationship in your life, if you have one, how you can really understand where you're going with that,
Yeah.
take away your own energy. And then Space Weaver, which is the artist, the creative, and finally the wise woman. And so it's getting those seven in harmonious balance.
Yeah.
I work with other women. I do coaching one-to-one, and I do groups of Journey of the Wise Women groups
Yeah.
to
It's
get people to
lovely.
find out if they'd like to do any with me, because I'll be starting new groups in September, and I do them on
Fantastic.
Zoom, mostly on Zoom, and it amazes me when I start these groups of, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 women coming together on Zoom on a monthly basis, and they don't know each other and they live all over the country, and I watch them come together in such a magical, special way where they start sharing in a safe space, even on
Yeah.
Zoom. And by usually the storyteller, they've become a community and they stay a community even after we finish the 7 months program. They
Well,
always stay together, which is beautiful to watch.
it is lovely. And, I like this storyteller bit, because our word is gold and the power of our word is always, changing our world, our mood, our actions. And just to touch back on what you said about menopause, whether it's good or bad, it's really how we tell the story as well, isn't it? Because it can be hijacked. And it's important to stay empowered as women because there is this, it's a next phase, it's a natural, I know you would be like me if we were looking at, the woman, the crone, you're moving through phases of
Yeah,
nature. And these phases of nature are beautiful. And obviously we're in a much more toxic environment. So all of these things are going to come to play. And maybe we're in a masculine environment in the workplace. So again, that's going to come into play. That might be a blame culture, a stress driven, way. Or sometimes people want to let themselves lean into it in, in a way that is I know lots of my friends like, oh, I'm menopausal, this is it, I can't do that. Do you know what I mean? It's like we can fall into the, like
it's
when,
precisely what I mean. I mean, it's the
yeah,
beginning, not the end. I think it's wonderful to actually be out, to go through the menopause, to explore it, to rejoice, celebrate it. In the same way, we need to celebrate all our kind of natural rhythms, whether it be when a young girl of 13, 14 starts having her period, starts, and the celebration of that. We just need to start acknowledging in the ancient ways the different various important aspects, as you said, maid, woman, mother.
yeah.
We do need to celebrate that aspects of ourselves instead of feeling ashamed that we're getting older or feeling ashamed that we're the wrong body size or feeling ashamed when a young girl starts bleeding, almost feeling that there's something wrong with that. Certainly in some cultures that happens. And it's like everything should be a celebration of everything that we do, which is natural and part of being close, not only with nature, but close with the land as well. I mean, it's, bleed on the
It,
land.
it's really sad, when like I do a lot of work with teenage girls as well as sort of women coaches, which is mainly women, sometimes men. But to be defining yourself so young by your body image, in the self-consciousness, there's such a room for celebration that seems to go amiss. And some of the girls I talk to, when they used to, like, because back in my day, you didn't get home and have social media continuing the insults or the deprivation, the horrible things that people can do to each other. And it's such a challenge to go down, the middle of that road and be able to be part of all of the social media and just look at who's bringing the celebration in, because we don't want young girls thinking, oh, right, I'll be an influencer and this is what I have to do. It's not very empowering in some cases.
Mm. No, it's not. No, it's not. I don't know what you want.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah, yeah. No, I just wondered what you thought about that. I know like at the end we'll ask a question of what we say, to the younger people. But if they, I that little bit of advice as well, just to hold your own and even, keep your community, keep your friends, keep that. You don't have to be everybody's friend. You can be respectful and have mutual respect and loving to everybody, show up with kindness, but actually also to have your pod. I love your seed pods. I like this idea of a group who are empowering and backing each other and there for each other. And that's the same at the grassroots.
Creating change in their communities together. That's the other really important
Yeah,
aspect. Being
definitely.
change makers. Everybody is a change maker, whatever age we are. But it's being told and shown and inspired to know that. As we go back to this area of self-confidence, whether it be young girls or women in their 70s, this lack of confidence that so many women have in so many cultures actually, because that's the world they've grown up in and that's the world their mothers grew up in and even their grandmothers. So we
Yeah,
have to get back in touch with our power, our strength as women, as girls. Um, and as human beings, actually, in the natural strength, being connected with the natural world, but not try and take the old bad habits with us
yeah,
of the patriarchy, whether it be linear ways of doing things or whether it be um, control and lack of compassion and lack of kindness and greed. We need to really get our values very much. I mean, a lot of the work that I do is values led, is we need to be very clear about what our values are and really mean it and really feel it and know that, for example, there's going to be a new economy, in my opinion, without
yeah,
question. It's being called, as you may know, the well-being economy, one of the ways it's being described. And it's not about who's the richest, who's got the most cars, who's got the biggest house. It's about well-being for everybody, that the carers are also are cared for, that there is enough, there is abundance for everybody, that we are enough, and
yeah,
a whole different way of looking at things. And that is so totally different from the polarity that is being encouraged by politicians and media and hatred that's going on in the world. In fact, it's completely got to swing to the opposite, which is the feminine way, which
yeah,
is sacred feminine coming into society, and how we can show that leadership, as I quoted Daddy Yankee from the Brahma Kumaris earlier on, is a very different way of doing things. It's encouraging and holding the space for others, not wanting to be the richest man in the world or the most powerful man in the world or have the biggest boat in the world. I mean, this is
mm,
just so destroying what the human race is about. And I do watch the news, and I know we all say you shouldn't watch the news and don't read the papers. I do.
yeah,
It's important to also know what's going on. I look at the manipulation that goes on between the so-called right and left and the polarities and the diversion that is totally artificially stimulated.
crazy.
And and yet at the same time, there are people. I mean, I was watching something recently. There's a number of people that have had lost their children to crime, knife crime, in just such a horrible way. And the families themselves have said we don't want this to be used as an excuse for more hatred. And yet it still gets manipulated by politicians. It still gets manipulated by the media. And we have to change. We have to change. So I do believe, and I meet them all the time, there are more and more local groups, grassroots groups, new networks. It's about networks of networks. It's another one of the ways I see the
Yeah,
future happening is it's bringing together a network of networks with the same sense of purpose. They may be different faiths, different religions, different countries, different ages, different sexuality, it doesn't matter. But
yeah,
they all have a sense of purpose that they want to see a new kind of world that is based on love, that's based on community, that's based on healing the trauma of the human race in every way by
yeah,
nurture and support. And that's what I get it. I am at the moment getting contacted every day by different networks that are starting up or have started up of really beautiful people who are working
yeah,
towards this difference, and they are not inside the broken system of politics or the broken system of media manipulation. They are coming from the grassroots, every single one of them, whether it be young families who want to live off grid now
yeah,
and little farms, which is not easy in this country because there's not a lot of spare land. It's happening. It is that change is taking place. I feel although it's the worst time I've ever known in my long life, it's also the most exciting time with the most potential. And
absolutely.
it's a completely different time, and it's wonderful in some ways of what can be. But people need to be encouraged. They need to be told it's safe and it's okay. And this is the way things are going to be. It
Yeah.
could be
And
if
it's love, isn't it? Love, self-leadership, that's going to forge a change. And as you said earlier, a change that people gravitate toward, magnetize toward because it is a better way of
it
being.
resonates.
Yeah.
Who would, unless people are pretty damaged, which a lot are, who wouldn't resonate to thinking about a new kind of future? It's what the Brahma Kumaris call the Golden Age, although that is
Yeah.
a little bit mystical and out there. But we want to live in a better space. We want our children, the most important, we want our children and our grandchildren to live in a place of love and abundance. And maybe I'm being a bit unworldly, I don't know, but I'd rather keep that vision.
No, because I
Fine. For
think,
each other.
yeah, definitely. And it's not unworldly because when you think about it, why do people, want riches? It's for freedom, for liberty, to be able to be generous. A lot of people, I know other people want it for the power of, the personality. But in the main, we only want
Just
those
about things,
freedoms.
about having things. Isn't all about being seen as and having things and that very old, there's that old patriarchal male way of
Mm,
doing things, fighting for being the biggest, the largest, the richest, the most, and all that nonsense, which doesn't make any sense. Can I read to you now?
yeah,
I
sure.
mentioned earlier that I wrote a book called Grow. After I wrote the Seed Handbook, I wrote a book about
Yeah,
Grow some 20 odd years ago now. But there's something that I wrote about the future, and I'd just like to read it out if I may.
yeah, it'd
And
be lovely.
it is as relevant today as it ever was 20 odd years ago for me, and I think for everybody that I read it to. I hope for you too,
Yeah,
and obviously people that are listening to the podcast. So this is a chapter called Shaping the Future. And this book is written for women, so it's written in that way. As women, we are traditionally the caretakers of our culture. Our responsibility is to understand and somehow make sure that the changes that are happening in our world preserve the basic humanity in us all. By connecting with the principles of the sacred feminine, such as those found in ancient matriarchal civilizations, a more nurturing society can evolve. One that abhors violence, advocates such values as justice, compassion, and love, and raises its children to reach their full potential as human beings. When people talk with such idealism, they're often accused of being naive. How can we change a world that's solidly entrenched in the way of competition, domination, and violence? My answer is that without creating the vision, nothing can be achieved. And without having the intention for that change in our hearts, we will find ourselves living in a world that perpetuates everything that goes against our feminine sensibilities. Brahma Kumari leader Sister Jayanti addressed the point at a conference on conflict resolution in Sweden in 2001. She said it would only take a relatively small group of committed individuals to initiate the transformation of human consciousness to a more positive, caring society. The beliefs of the minority reaching the point of critical mass will shift the majority and create a culture of peace. If we're talking about getting rid of the old, outdated patriarchal ways of running the world, which I always am, it's
yeah.
essential to present a pragmatic vision of what we want to replace it with. It's so important that we keep that vision, we create that vision. We need an overall blueprint of what a new world based on principles of the sacred feminine would look like and how it would work. The primary foundation for such a world is cooperation. First and foremost, it's cooperation between male and female. As women, we know that the best and most efficient way to get things done is to work together. And that means living and working with men in harmonious coexistence, valuing the perspectives and strengths of both sexes, and creating a higher quality of life for all. It must also be a world of cooperation between business and community, human beings and the planet, national governments and non-governmental organizations, young and old, spirituality and science, and our inner and outer selves. The opportunity to create this world does exist now. And as I said, I wrote that 25 years ago, but it really does exist now. It is possible to create a society where we can bring people together and heal our families, our communities, and our world. To do so would take a new breed of leaders, ones who aren't tied to the old ways of doing things. Rather than money or power, these leaders must have spiritual values to guide them. And since spiritual values are at our core, it is vitally important for women to step up and take the lead in this transformation of society. A cooperative society is an organic, evolutionary step away from the world we presently live in. When the power of national governments diminish, that power will naturally transfer into specific small and large networks which transcend national boundaries and link with one another. Consequently, a new economic order could be created that truly rewards effort, including the caring of others. Distribution of land and natural resources would be fairly shared amongst the people who live on it, and the need to conquer and repress others in the name of power would not be a consideration. There is more, but you get the idea. So
I
this is
totally
something new. This is
get
something I've been talking about and writing about for a very long time. And now we really have to make it happen. And it will be women taking the leadership role in communities, in small groups, in pods, and I believe will make it happen. And We Grow, which I just launched recently in London, like last week,
yeah,
is really a movement of change. Seed pods are kind of the containers, if you like.
yeah,
We Grow movement is encouraging not only growing of plants and vegetables, but growing ourselves, of course. We grow, growing our community, and then actually planting seeds as much as we can, actual seeds, heritage seeds in parks, in our gardens, in our window boxes, wherever it may be, kitchen tables, so that we have not only our own food, but we also have a symbol of what we can do as human beings in this new world, growing.
I think it's wonderful. And when you read out from Grow there, it was like listening to the Wellbeing Manifesto.
Yes, it is. I think,
And I just thought, well, is this another, could this be one of Lynn's new reinventions? Will we have a new party?
oh no, not
No.
political. Well, the party to have fun. I will. I do need to put that out there. I am writing another two books at the moment, which I haven't hardly been working on for years, and I've hardly
Yeah.
got through because I've got get so busy. But I am on Substack now, so if anybody wants to follow me, I am writing pieces every week now that are really reflecting my experiences and what I'm thinking, and we're going to have opportunities to talk together on those as well. I'm just getting to understand Substack, which I really like actually as a platform.
Oh, I haven't joined it yet. I must
It's
get
very,
into it.
very interesting, and interesting to be writing on Substack, one's own thoughts and filming and things. So yeah, it's a time of change. So it's great that you're doing
It's
what you're doing, and
Thank you. It's huge, what you're doing. I absolutely love it. You had your Absolutely Now book, didn't you? You've had so many things that you've done in life, and it goes back to this reinvention all the time. I think it's incredible, really.
I mean, I've always looked forward to things. I always looked at the future. It's how I've been since I was a kid. I'm not that interested in the past. Yeah, I mean, it's just like I think everybody should really just keep visioning how you, for example, would like to live your life, how the people watching this would like to live their life, and how that works within the bigger context of the people they'd like to be living near, being their neighbors, being their friends, making
Yeah.
sure we don't become isolated and that we become focused on how we could live together, work together, and help each other, and create a new kind of future. We cannot ignore what's going on in the world right now, whether it be wars, whether it be climate issues, whether it be lack of food, or whatever it may be, and we have to not. It's so overwhelming that for a lot of people, it's like too much. I can't even think about it. It's too much. It's too much, and that's understandable. So if we just start in a little way, even like I live in this little town in Somerset, and even
Mm.
just just saying hello to people when you take the dog for a walk or whatever, or if you haven't got a dog, still say hello to everybody. Just connecting with others. I found it very different when I was in London last 2 weeks ago, and I grew up in London. I lived in London for a lot of my life, but how people don't look each other in the face, they don't say hello, they're all
Yeah.
in a way, everybody's in fear. So I think it's really important, just in terms of knowing your neighbours, connecting with others, building your community wherever you are is crucial, absolutely crucial. And it naturally,
Community is everything. Connection is everything. We want connection, don't we? It's important. And I love everything you're doing is about connection. And we're coming up to that hour. So I thought, it'd be really wonderful to ask you our little question of if you had a magic wand and the infrastructure was in place, what wisdom would you share with our young people coming through as a grandmother of seven as well? What would
uh,
you like them to know?
funnily enough, I had this kind of paper magic wand with a big flower on it that I was out at the festivals at asking people the same question.
Mm,
What would they like to see in the future? One thing that they could contribute. I think the most important thing is that everybody can be a change maker. It doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, I left school at 16. I wasn't particularly I wasn't educated. I had started my own business at 21. I mean, I know that was
incredible.
time, but even so, it's like we can all be change makers. So whatever age we are, whatever education you've got, well, whoever you are, just know that you have that enormous ability and potential to live your dreams, and make sure that the dreams, the right kind of dreams, not
Your dreams. Yeah.
no, they don't have to be my dreams, but yeah, the
Oh,
individual.
no, yours, but you,
But dreams that work in the modern world. The modern
yeah,
world is not about, even though I use the word modern, it's not about, having the latest technology. It's having people,
no,
friends, relations.
yeah. I meant, your dreams, not someone else's
Yeah.
version of your life. Sorry, not
But
your
you
life.
can
Yeah,
make them real. You can
yeah,
all be the alchemist to make your dreams come true. I mean, you've done it with your podcast.
yeah. Thank
Lots of
you.
things going on, as a result, and we can all make that happen. Young people, as much as I've worked with a lot of groups of young people, young men and women, actually, all genders, such these days.
Yeah.
And yes, giving them that just belief in themselves. That's what it's all about, having self-belief.
Trusting in yourself, definitely. Oh, well, Lynn, it has been so wonderful for you to take the time out and share with us. It's been great, and I'm so grateful. So,
Thank you for
yeah,
having me. Okay, well,
you are really welcome. Thank you.
back with everything.
Thanks so much. And you, let's see what the world stage brings next for you, and we can come back and talk about that when this great book comes out. Okay,
Oh,
thanks, Lynn. And just before you go, there comes a moment when we realize that we're no longer here simply just to transform our own life, but we really want to help other people transform theirs. And that's where the soul alignment method comes in. It's a teacher training for coaches, therapists, healers, leaders, and change makers who know that they are meant to create deeper impact in the world. This is more than a training, though. It's a powerful journey into the art of transformation itself. We'll have 3 months together that start in 3 immersive days in Glastonbury, followed by 21 days integration experience where you'll learn the complete soul alignment method framework and become a certified teacher to facilitate this profound process with your clients. You learn how to help people break from limiting identities, rebuild self-trust and self-worth, regulate the nervous system, align with purpose and possibility, and create lasting transformation from the inside out. And this truly is where soul meets science, where deep wisdom meets practical methodology, where coaches become catalysts, and where your own next level of leadership begins, because the world doesn't need more information. It needs more people who can help others remember who they truly are. So coming in September and October, we'll be doing certification of the soul alignment method, and we'd love to have you come along. So if you've been waiting for the right next step, this just might be it. The clients you're here to serve are waiting for the version of you who says yes. So come and join us in either September or October. You can join the waiting list for September and be among the first to hear when our applications open for October. So just get in touch, and your transformation, as you know, changed your life. And now let's learn how to guide transformation for others together. I'd love to help you do this. Have a look on my website at paulapluck.com for all the details. Sending lots of love.